Hi, friends, and welcome to this week's episode of the In Between podcast with Paige Allen. Hey, first of all, have you guys signed up yet to be a part of my newsletter/email list? I'm really excited about this. I'm sending an email out just every other week. Just last time, I sent out a list of some of my favorite things. So if you haven't done that yet, head on over to the website, thein-between.com, and be sure to subscribe. It's episode 20 today, and I'm so excited to have my real-life friend, Mindy vonAtzigen, on the show today. Mindy and I are both pastors at Church on the Rock, and we're talking today about pastoring your own soul. That word pastor, it basically just means to take care of and to look after people. And we talk about the reality that when we don't look after our own lives, it's really hard to look after those in our life and in our sphere of influence. Mindy has some amazing practical advice to share, and we just have a lot of fun on this conversation. I think you're gonna love it. So lean in and listen to the Holy Spirit as we talk, because I think he has something for you today about how you can pastor your own soul. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of The In Between. I want to introduce you to my friend, Mindy vonAtzigen. Hi, Mindy.
Hello. Glad to be here with you.
Oh, I'm so glad. Well, if you happen to read, I send out a bi-weekly email. And in my email that I sent out last week, at the very end, I included 3 little articles or blog posts that had kind of ministered to me. And one of them was Mindy's on,
Right.
on
I hate that I missed that. I'm going to go back and look.
You'll have to, it was a long email. So, if you don't get to see it, you see it. So if anybody happened to read it, I was posting or linking to an article you wrote about pastoring your own soul. And so I am excited. I want us to dive into that today. But first, I want to do what we always do to start off, and that is talking about what we are into and what we are over. Have you had time to think about this, Mindy?
I have.
All right.
And I wanted it to be something so awesome and amazing. And I really thought I would love to be able to say I'm into going back to the gym, because I would really love to be able to say that. And then
Right.
I'm into getting healthy, and because I'm trying. But I don't think I can say that I'm there yet. I'm not quite into it. I've bought the clothes, the workout clothes I've made it to the gym maybe 10 times. But so I'm thinking maybe later I'll say that I'm into that. Right now, what I'm truly into is a lot less active. It's my palette garden. Is that
No.
fun? No, I mean it's beautiful, and it's vertical. It's attached to the side of a wall outside, and so it means that I get to be around plants and vegetables with no work, because there's no weeds, nothing. It's just beautiful.
I think I saw a picture of this, and I'm actually really intrigued. I actually saw it and I thought, maybe.
Yeah.
So did you know someone that did this, or did you see it online?
It's a Pinterest thing. So
Yeah.
I saw it, and I sent some pictures to my non-handyman husband, and he got excited about it, and it was a project that he actually could do. And so we had a lot of fun. We went and bought the plants together, and it's already producing some fruit. It's got strawberries in it and some bell peppers.
So great.
So, yeah, I'm really, really excited. I can see myself like going out and making a salad off my wall. So I'm really happy about that. And I've never been an efficient gardener, so this is my chance right here.
Well, I love it. I actually that's one of my goals for this year, is to start a garden. But maybe I need to do something more like this. I've kind of started thinking, maybe my garden will be in a couple of pots, but I'm liking. Start small. Exactly. Yeah.
Our first garden was half an acre. This was like 15 years ago, maybe more. And I remember just thinking we bit off way too much. And Eric left town right as the garden was starting to produce fruit and weeds. And I was 7 months pregnant, and he left for 2 weeks and came back to a jungle. And I was like, I'm done. I'm never going to garden again. And so this is my baby step right back into, because I love vegetables. Like, I like to wander sprouts and wish that all that grew in my yard. So
right.
This is my chance. And I think it's going to be fun.
Well, this is fun. Okay. Well, I'm going to find a link to a palette garden and put it on the blog this week so people can go look and see what it looks like. So that's good. Well, my
diving, you get a palette. It's free. So.
Yeah, that's so cool. My Intuit is actually not very tangible. I was just trying to think of something. You know what I am? I'm going to do something tangible instead. I am, you know what I'm really into right now? And it's a little bit, it could become a problem. It hasn't become yet, but I am into sneakers that are like a little bit nicer than like an actual tennis shoe.
Kind of edgy. Yeah.
So I actually have like 3 pairs, you know, so now I've got a pair of Converse. I just like 2 weeks ago bought these like navy suede Adidas sneakers, and my sister bought me like high top sneakers. And I don't know, I may be too old to try to rock this fashion choice, but they're comfortable and they're cute. So I'm into sneakers.
You love shoes in general, don't you?
I do. Yeah.
When I go back and look at Paige's Instagram, there are a lot of feet shots. Are you aware of that? Is it like a theme in your life?
It probably is. I do. I love shoes, and I always look down at the floor. Like whatever kind of flooring I'm on, if I'm on a cool, I want to take a picture and remember that.
I like it. I've noticed it. I study it a little bit, so I think it's good.
Okay. So here's the deal. Sometime before this podcast airs, I'm going to Instagram my new Adidas shoes. Yeah. So everyone's gonna be like, oh yeah, we've seen these.
There they are.
Yeah. Okay. Like, what are you over? You over anything right now?
I'm not. This wind, I'm ready for it to be done, and I think I'm realizing that we live in a very windy city, and that's just gonna have to be life, and I'll get over it.
Right.
Get over being over it. So just have to ignore it, I think.
Well, mine is also the wind. So obviously, I think anyone that lives in our neck of the woods in West Texas, it's probably the wind right now. It's horrible.
It's intense.
Yes.
In fact, I was worried that you would be able to hear it today, but yeah.
I know. I can hear it right now, but I don't think it's coming through. I actually this morning went on my first grader's field trip to the Windmill Museum, which felt very fitting because today is like the windiest day ever.
That actually could be a little frightening.
It was. They made us go outside, and the children were like, oh, it's really windy. So I learned, this was my fascinating fact I learned at the Windmill Museum, is when the railroad first came through the U.S., it was steam powered. And so they had to stop every 15 to 30 miles to get a whole new, however much water they needed to go that far. So when the railroad first came to the U.S., there was a windmill every 15 to 30 miles.
Makes sense.
It does. So I don't know that anyone wanted to know that bit of information, but that's really all I walked away with today.
Thank you. Elementary field trips.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. So, okay. Well, I'm going to jump into our topic today, which I want to just kind of talk about taking care of our souls. I loved I decided I wanted to interview you after I read that article, and I like it because it resonated with me as a pastor. I try to take care of so many people's souls, so to speak, that sometimes I neglect my own. But I really think, regardless if you have a title of pastor or not, if you are a mother, you're constantly ministering to souls. If you have coworkers, all of us pastor in our own ways to the people that are in our life, and we can get run down so easily if we don't take care of our own souls. Yeah. Have you seen that? How have you seen that come to pass in your own life?
Well, I think the first thing I need to say is kind of a disclaimer, because I don't feel like I'm naturally good in this area. Mm-hmm. My natural tendency is to be a workaholic. I've realized that about myself. And And I think I've always been that way, even before I had a paying job. I had that kind of driven personality. And so this isn't an area where I'm naturally gifted and taking care of myself. And so, yes, what ended up happening is some damage, I think, to my heart, but also to my physical body, because when stress gets high and you haven't learned how to take care of that and how to not just manage it, but destroy it, it comes out in your body. And so there was just a season when I realized I needed to pay attention to it. It was longer than I wished it was, because I didn't quite figure it out very, very quickly how to take care of that. And I even felt guilty about resting. I struggled with that. I felt like I needed to be working all the time. If I was at home, I felt like I needed to be at work. And if I was at work, I felt like I needed to be at home. So there was just this constant, and I put that on myself. You know, no one was asking things of me that they shouldn't have. I did that to myself. So yes, to answer the long answer to your question there, it was a struggle, and it's something that I've had to really stay on top of. And so I feel like I'm doing a lot better in that area, but it's one of those places where you can just look up and realize, man, I let it happen again. You know, I went too long without really taking stock of how I am on the inside. So
yeah,
definitely something I've had to war for in my own life.
Yeah. What does that look like for you? That, or let me say this, have you put any things in place that help you gauge when,
what's happening? I think the first stop check for myself is when I realized that my joy level is low in just my daily living. When I realize I'm not laughing, when I'm just not enjoying myself. That's the first one. The one that's more serious and that comes after that is when I notice that I don't only just feel a lack of joy, but I actually feel numb. And so when I begin to realize that I'm tending to be emotionless, that's a real warning sign for me. It means I'm stuffing things, and I'm not letting myself process whatever is happening in my life. So it doesn't. I've always thought I was a pretty emotionally stable person, and I think maybe even prided myself on that, and then didn't realize that sometimes maybe that wasn't just emotional stability. Maybe it was denial. That there's some stuff in there that I need to process and pastor. That's the phrase that I ended up coining for myself, that I did need to pastor my own soul. I heard a preacher say once that you're the prophet of your own life, that you are the one who declares the good things of God over your own life. And I realized, yes, I'm also the first pastor in my life, because the scripture says that a pastor should know the state of their flock. And if I'm going to pastor my own life, then I need to know what's in there. What is this sheep really thinking on the inside? What's she feeling on the inside? And what does that look like to pastor yourself, to remind yourself of what it is that you're supposed to be pursuing. And one of those things is rest. So yeah, that's my internal coach when I get to those moments when I'm numb or when I'm joyless. Then I say, hey, I need to sit down and look at this, and I need to be quiet enough to take stock of what's on the inside.
Wow. That makes me think of, I just finished Jenny Allen's newest book, Nothing to Prove. And she talks, when you said that numbness, she talks about that a lot. That how even sometimes she would tell herself, oh, I'm allowing myself to rest. And she would just binge Netflix or, but really she was just trying to tap into that thing that allowed her to feel numb. And she couldn't figure out why she wasn't feeling rested after those periods, you know? And it really wasn't, I think what you're saying, she really wasn't pastoring herself in that time. She was just kind of continuing in that vein of zone out, you know? Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a natural thing, a natural tendency, a natural coping skill, maybe a
Mm-hmm.
mechanism of when things get heavy. But I think it needs to be more intentional than that to really feed your soul.
Yeah.
Definitely, sometimes you just need to not think about something. But then there are times when you just need to be quiet long enough to evaluate, to think,
Mm-hmm.
and let yourself feel and let yourself think about what is it? Why am I numb? Sometimes it's because I'm running from something. I don't want to process something. Sometimes it's just because I'm overworked. Sometimes it's because I'm not spending that time with the Lord. That is the thing that refreshes me. So just when I get to that point of when I feel joyless or numb, just to take stock and say what's causing this, and
Yeah.
deal with that.
That's good. That's good. So for you, what does it look like pastoring your own soul? Probably part of it is what you just said, is taking the time to take stock of what's going on. Anything else? What does it look like for you?
I think the key for me is to be consistent about it. And so what this looks like for myself, and again, it's not perfect. There are times when I just look up and I realize I did it again. I let it slide. But what this looks like for me is very similar to how I pastor my marriage and I pastor my kids. So our family time, my marriage time, and the time for myself, they kind of follow some really similar patterns. And they're very intentional. So one of them would be daily, something that I do daily. One of them would be something I do weekly. And then I do something monthly, and I do something annually. Hopefully for every one of those areas. So you could take it for pastoring your soul and look at how are you investing in your marriage, or how are you investing in your family. But the first one would be that every day I've got to have a little bit of time for myself. For me, being a tad bit of an introvert, that means that I need some quiet. Now I know not everybody needs quiet to get recharged, but for me, it's literally noise that I need to disengage from. So this was the hardest when my kids were little, because they're never quiet, and there were a lot of them. We have 4. So I found early on that my time for that was after the kids went to bed and I went and took a bubble bath. It was the dark, and I literally dimmed the lights because I just needed some quiet. And so now that the kids are older, I'm finding pockets of that time elsewhere, and I'm realizing it's not so much the bubble bath. It's just some time where there's no noise, when I can kind of be alone with my own thoughts. And again, I don't think that would be the same for every person. There are people who really who love noise. They may want to rock out to worship music. I found that I really just needed some quiet though, and that was my time to recharge, even if it was a few minutes. But I prefer it to be at least half an hour where I can disengage. Going to the gym, oddly enough, for an introvert, still works for me, because I'm realizing I feel energized when I come back, because even though I'm around people, I'm kind of alone with my thoughts during that time. Nobody tries to talk to you at the gym. And so that just that daily, I need a few minutes for myself just to think. And of course, as a believer and a follower of Jesus, then part of that is that I need some time with him every day. And that looks different every day for me. I'm a worshiper. I love to play the piano. So sometimes it's that, sometimes it's in the word, but of course I'm incorporating that into my time alone. But then weekly, I listened to your podcast on the Sabbath, and I think this is the concept of a weekly event for me. That I need a Sabbath. So for me, that's been Friday lately, because I'm a pastor and I work on Sunday. It's our busiest day of the week. I've realized that it can't be Sunday for me. I love to go to church, and I love to worship with other believers, but Friday has become my Sabbath day. It's not just the day that I rest, but it's also the day that I really get focused with the Lord. It's the time that I have. I think that's the sweetest with him. It's usually that hour when my husband goes. He also is off on Friday, so it works for us to enjoy that day together. as a couple, but he goes to the gym on Friday morning. And so I have this time that's longer than usual. And I'm really trying to dedicate that to just refreshing in every way, sabbatical. And then I would take that a step further. And one day out of the month, I'm really trying to dedicate it to literally, now not the whole day, so it's basically just the school day, but I'm really trying to spend that alone. So today was the day. My husband was out of town, and usually he teases me because I love Fridays with him. But if I can have one Friday a month by myself, I am a better wife. Yeah. On the other side of that. He teases me about it, but he never makes me feel guilty about it, and I appreciate that. But I just need a little more extended time, maybe by myself. This is actually where I do a lot of writing and searching the word. So it's maybe a little more intentional than the other days where I'm just kind of being. Yeah. But then annually, something else that we've tried to do for a long time for our family, we'll take an annual vacation. That's how we're using that time with them. But for myself, to just try to get away for an overnight. And I would love it if it was longer, but in reality, it's usually not. So just 2 days, one night, just a place to get away and be with my own thoughts, maybe do some dreaming, some planning. I look forward to those times, but I also have come to really value what's downloaded into me during those times. So those are the priorities. So I think that would be just kind of the general outline of what it looks like daily, weekly, monthly, and annually. And like I said, it doesn't always happen, but that's the goal. That's my template for how
I think that's such a great way to look at it. And it's because I think for a lot of women, and men too even, the concept of they know that they need to take care of themselves. But in our life where we feel so busy, and like you said, even constantly feeling guilt that I should be doing one thing or another, it's a hard thing to measure and figure out, how do I make this work practically? So I think that's a great way to kind of, kind of just list it out. You need something daily. And actually, while you were talking, I kept thinking, I haven't thought about this, but I actually take a bath almost every night. And that's actually what I'm doing. I didn't even realize it. And there'll be some times where I'm like, I just need this right now. Yeah. And it's just the quiet.
I showered this morning. I still need my bath. It's just, I need that. Yeah. Just for a few minutes.
And I love what you said too about when Eric is gone for maybe just one day a month, it makes you a better wife. And that's what all of this is about. We are healthier and therefore better in every arena of life, more attentive to our husbands, more present with our children, better at work, when we really take some time to allow ourselves to breathe and to receive from the Lord and stay healthy. So it's really good. Yeah.
And the struggle is different seasons of your life. Sometimes it just doesn't line up real well with that kind of plan. You might have to tweak it. Maybe you can't have a day every month. Maybe it's just a few times a year. So I think because there was a season when we had 4 toddlers that just wasn't going to happen. Yeah. But I think the idea is you can't live forever like that. You've really got to find pockets of downtime. You've got to find pockets of self-refreshing. Even in your busiest mommy years, you've got to find those pockets, and you've got to ask for help sometimes. That was hard for me, to ask somebody to watch my kids, just to go do, if it wasn't because it was for work or something, that was really difficult. But I wasn't really great at it in that season. That was honestly the season where I struggled the most. And so I do have a lot of compassion for women who find themselves just in that season where they, for whatever reason, it's just crazy enough, it's hectic enough that they're struggling finding that. And the thing I think I would say to her is, don't feel guilty for them. You know, don't abuse it, but don't feel guilty for just that need, because you really will come back ready to go 100%. I think it's better to take a break. And, you know, sometimes it might just be, instead of a whole day, maybe you just get to go to breakfast by yourself before, you know, maybe you get up early and you go to breakfast by yourself. I don't know what that would look like for really busy schedules. You know, everybody would have to find that pocket for themselves. But when you come back, you're able to be all there. It's like, and also when you know it's coming, then you're able to kind of endure those seasons where it is crazy. When I know that I'm going to have a day, and it may be 3 weeks from now, but when I know I'm going to have a day, then I know it won't always be this nuts. I will have a break. And so it helps me to look forward to it also.
Yes, that is so true. It is. I can think of seasons in my life where it was like the light at the end of the tunnel. It's like, you know what? Like,
if I could just make it
in 3 days, I can do this because I'm going to get this window of time. And I echo what you say about don't feel guilty. Because I know there have been seasons in my life where that is the number one thing that holds me back from taking care of myself, is this feeling like, and sometimes what my husband even one time called me out, that I was taking on a bit of a martyr syndrome, that if I wasn't there in that moment, everything was going to fall apart and, you know, things like that. And he said, Paige, like, no, like you need a break. I want you to go do this thing for 3 or 4 hours and we will be okay. You know, we will be okay. And so especially to moms.
The world doesn't need you present with it every single minute. Yeah.
Right. Yes. You will be okay. I even think back to, and most people won't be able to do this, but I've taken one sabbatical in my work life at the church. I took 40 days off like 7 years ago. And I really remember thinking leading up to it, I don't know how things are going to continue to function without me. I mean, a little bit of that just, honestly, it was pride. And God really convicted me that one thing that was leading to this burnout in my life was my own pride and in my own self-sufficiency. And so for me, sometimes even stopping, it kind of goes back to the Sabbath thing. It reorients the truth in my life that it's not me that makes the world run. You know, I'm not enough in and of myself. It's the Lord that's enough. And I remember coming back from that sabbatical and just having that realization of everything went on just fine without me.
It all lived.
No. And I came back fresh with new eyes, ready for the next season. And
that's a really great point, because the freshness is something I've really noticed. If I go too long without a break, even just that day to myself, I've noticed that creatively I become stale. I'm surviving instead of thriving. And so I have noticed that on those days that I take for myself, and I'm really trying to make this a pattern. There haven't been a ton of them, but I've noticed that on those days, I just begin to have so many ideas, and it's intriguing to me, because I wonder what would it be like to live in that place.
Right.
but I'm going to be grateful for it when it's there. But just that somehow that unplugging, that disengaging from normal brain activity, which I think women are multitaskers, so we're thinking about so many things all at once, but just that disengaging from a normal routine, even if it's just for a morning, I've noticed just a flow of creativity. I mean, things that like all of a sudden I'm writing a song, or I'm writing a poem, or I've got this great idea for a palette garden. You know, I mean, just things flow out of those breaks. And I think God's up to something there. I mean, he knows what it takes for us to really be alive. And part of that is taking a step back And my number one goal, my number one probably value is productivity. And so sometimes it's even hard for me to talk about breaking and resting because I want to explain to everybody how much I do and how much I really, really work all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm a better worker. I am more productive when I schedule in this stuff to rest and to dream and to think and to sit and to journal and to do these things that really wake me up on the inside.
Mm-hmm. That's so good. Not to be super spiritual, but I just keep thinking it to myself that, life, when God created Adam, it came from his breath. And if we're not allowing ourselves to stop to receive that, then we're just surviving and we're not thriving. We're not really even living, I think, as he intends us to live. So that is so good. Yeah. Well, let me close with this question for you. So let's say we have someone watching, listening right now, and they're like, okay, I want to do this, but I don't do this. What could be a practical challenge, or let's just say, we want to challenge you to try this week. What would you say that is? Do you think it's the daily or try to find a segment? What would be a practical challenge you would give to someone today?
I think that I would say one small thing that I would start with is whatever that daily time is, do it without your phone. If it's the bath, then get in there without your phone. If it's I don't know, if it's taking a walk or something that's not turning to something else to feed you, but just allowing yourself to have a few minutes where there's no distractions. I know the tendency is I need some time to just not think. But I think maybe the first step in really pastoring your soul is to change that to be, I need some time to be, and I need some time to listen. And it's kind of hard to do that with your phone in your hand or the TV on. And so I think that might just be the first practical step. When I stop and think about how much time I do have that I'm spending in those outlets, I realize how much time I really do have to pastor myself. It's there. It's a matter of seizing it. So I think that would be the first step, is just to find a few minutes every day that you can get quiet and without distraction. And then just ask yourself, what do I want this time to look like? What do I want to think about? What do I want to dream about? What do I want to plan for in these moments? So just get quiet without distraction, probably the best practical step. And then I would say, hire a babysitter, check out, just say, I'm going to be gone from this time to this time on a Saturday, or if you're that's what I think the first step would be, just to carve out that daily time, and then maybe a time during the month you could have a prolonged minute there to really spend on yourself.
I think that's so good. All right, girls, that's our challenge. That's our challenge. Let's get these distractions out of the way. Yeah. Just so we can really think and listen and receive. So, Mindy, thanks so much. This was really good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm so glad to chat with you. You're my neighbor, but sometimes you just gotta pop the video screen on and chat for a bit.
I know, that's so true. So you guys, I'm going to link to Mindy's website. I encourage you this week, go read some of her blogs, and you're really going to be blessed. Start to follow because she just has a wealth of wisdom and even just fun ideas for your family. So with that, I'm just going to say, everybody have a great week. And I encourage you to embark on this thing of pastoring your own soul. So All right, we'll see you
Isn't
next
that
time.
so good, you guys? I just love how practical Mindy was with us, and I really like that we ended with a challenge. And I hope you will take us up on that challenge sometime this week. Try to find some time for yourself, even if you need to be as bold as getting a babysitter or putting it on your calendar. Just make time for yourself. You are worth it. You really, really are. Hey, I want to encourage you to start following Mindy and her writing on her blog called Treasure the Ordinary. You can find links to some of her works at the blog on the In-Betweens website, or just go directly there. You will be so blessed by so much wisdom that she has. All right, well, it's been a great week at the In-Between, and I will talk to you next week.